Would you believe me if I told you that most people that are shouting about men and women equality don't really understand what they're talking about? Some say men are oppressed, some say women are oppressed, some say equality does exist, some say it is not possible. But we forget to ask the more important question: what do we even mean by equality? Is it equal respect, power, strength, or dignity? Because depending on what we mean by equality, the whole debate changes. And if I were to give my personal opinion on this debate, then yes, men and women are equal and also not. Men cannot give birth and women cannot give birth without men. We need each other, we need both to survive. So, in this video, we shall be trying to understand the whole concept of equality historically, biologically, and socially, and try to find if it is really possible for us to be equal. So, before we dive into our core idea of equality, we need to learn more about our history, our beginning, because if you think that this topic is simple, then you're wrong. There is no such thing as simple. Everything could get as complicated as rocket science only if you know enough. So, back in the day, some hundreds and thousands of years ago, when we used to live in tribes, in groups, because living alone was not possible in such wildness. So, living in groups was the best and only option. We traveled from places to places looking for foods and hunting because we could not make our own food. We did not know farming. So, gathering and hunting was our only and best option for survival. But the question is, who would go hunting? Old people? No, they cannot because they are weak. They would die and they will not be able to bring food for the tribe. And frankly, people did not age a lot back then because it did not get to. People died far before that, either of disease or any attack. So, kids? No, they are too weak and inexperienced for that. So, the logical option is those who are strong, aggressive. And who are they? Men. Well, I'm not glorifying men. I'm just telling what is true. Because let's be honest, when it comes to physical capabilities, men are undoubtedly stronger and they are far more suitable for these tasks. So if a tribe wanted to survive, they had to send men for hunting. Because if we did the opposite, then the whole tribe would starve to death. But does that mean men are superior? They are more important? Well, obviously not. When men went into the wilderness gathering, looking for foods, women in the caves did something equally important. They bare their children and raised them. Men did what women could not, and women did what men could not. They needed each other to survive. Surely a tribe would not survive without food, it will starve to death. But for a tribe to starve to death, you need a tribe first, and without women, there will be none. But does that mean women are superior? Obviously not. We are both equally important. We need each other. We need for the world to keep on going. We need each other for human to exist. We did not sit in the caves deciding roles and gender. We did whatever means necessary to survive. We acted. We could not send women hunting because they were literally carrying the next generations within themselves. And without them, there will be no one left. Male female roles were not just random. Biology and environment forced certain patterns, but they were never perfect, never universal, and definitely not a moral law. And it is humanity's utmost desire to keep on living to preserve itself. So it was logical to keep women in the caves and for men to go hunting. So until now, everything was pretty much fine. Men and women were doing their respective jobs and surviving. But everything changed around 10,000 BCE when we first learned to farm. So once we learned farming, our life got much easier. We did not wake up in the morning hungry and went into the wild looking for other animals. And we were no more desperate all the time for food and survival. And then our only goal was to farm and make as much crops as possible so we could live comfortably for the rest of the year. Because deep down, everything we do is all about comfort. Literally, you study hard for what? To get a good result. But for what? To get into a good college. For what? For a good degree. Why? Because you want to get a good job. But why? So you can earn a lot. But why? So you could live comfortably. Yeah, that's it. You literally, everything you're literally doing is all for comfort. All your parents' concerns, all your studies is just all about comfort. We think we are complicated, but not really. We are just lazy bastards. So, in order to farm a lot, we needed land, a lot of. But back then, a lot of land was not easily available. It was deep forest and the ground was not as plain as of today. So the fastest way to make a lot of land was to grab someone else's. Yeah. And for that, you needed strength, dominance. In other words, you needed men. As a result, all the owners of the land were men. And also, farming is not easy. It takes a lot of physical work. As a result, men started to take control over all the lands, and females were left with none. And also, there was this insecurity that all the owned lands will be lost. So they had to make sure that their wealth was passed down to someone who could protect this. And they could not trust women because they were physically weaker and they were really not suitable for these things. Well, that's not what I'm saying, that's what they used to believe. So please do not blame me. So this cycle kept going again and again, and for hundreds of thousands of years, it has been like this. Maybe back then this idea was reasonable and okay. But the biggest problem is that we could not change, we could not evolve, we could not get past that idea of men being stronger, bread earner, and women being at home. And it all changed during the Industrial Revolution when physical work was not the only thing that made someone valuable. Women slowly started to get out of their house and work side by side men and perform equally. And this whole idea of men being superior started to slowly break. And over the years, the situation has gotten better, but we are still not equal. But before that, we need to define what we mean by equality. Is it men and women doing exactly the same thing and getting the same value, or men and women doing what they're supposed to do and being valued on that? Because if it is the first one, then it is not possible for us to be equal because we are literally biologically different. But if it is the latter, then yes, we could be equal. We have to understand that people are not literally the same. We have our own weaknesses and strengths. We cannot force people to fit into the roles they are not made for. You cannot eat with a knife and cut with a fork, but they are both necessary to make up a kitchen. They excel at their jobs. The same way men are supposed to do the works that require physical strength and aggression, such as farming, construction. And women are supposed to do jobs that require more emotional intelligence, such as teaching and nurturing. That's how we make a good society. We survive. We cannot compete with each other. We need each other. And that's how we are equal, by doing our respective jobs. We have to understand that we are not at a war. But unfortunately, in today's world, so called masculine men and feminist women have twisted the whole meaning of equality. To them, equality means literally identical, and being different means worse. Feminism is a movement that's asking for women's rights to vote, to own property, to exist, to be valued equally. It was not about establishing dominance over men, just like men did for hundreds and thousands of years. And being honest, feminism is still required a lot because our society is still very stereotypical and patriotic. The value of a woman is next to zero. The same way, masculinity is not what we see on social media. It's not about just dominance, it's about humility, responsibility, and sacrifices. It's not about being Sigma or Alpha or about selling courses. We are two halves of the same species. If we stop fighting within ourselves, then maybe we will be human again. Thank you for watching. And yes, if I have made any mistake, missed any points, or you have any suggestions, please do let me know in the comments. I'm still learning and growing. Also, do like and subscribe. As a small creator, it is so much needed and appreciated.